Hello and a very warm welcome back to Dovey Plants, and welcome to what I would say is our overflow car park version, but for plants, of where we have a lot of spares. And the idea is we've got 3 swales that we hand dug because we're a little bit bored in January and February, and we thought, let's just do, well, I made everyone join in. Let's just make maybe 3 swales going down, and then maybe in between in the future we can plant it up with different annual vegetables, which we have done. Now, the core goal here is showcasing the idea of creating perennial systems that provide multiple functions within a wider landscape. So in a nutshell, it's a bit like a bit of alleyway cropping. So we've got a perennial border, and then in the middle we have this alleyway where hopefully it's nice and productive and we grow these different crops. So what we've done, and I'll go in and I'll show you what we've done more on the herb side, but kind of just behind me here, there's some different trees. So this is a hybrid poplar, this is an Italian alder, and then in between each one, so it alternates, in between each one, we then planted a comfrey. Now, out of all of the comfrey that we divided the crowns from, for the 3 rows, only 2 didn't make it, and we never watered them, and we had a very, very, very dry spring. So I'm really pleased by the resilience of the comfrey, which is just yet again showcasing how strong it is as a plant. And then the idea is that these are going to be allowed to grow a bit taller. We're going to side prune them. The biomass can go back down onto the ground to add fertility, but by side pruning we can let some light through, but then we can be a little bit clever. So the base, if this is going to be like the shadier corner, like next year, this is where we could grow different perennial brassicas. So the rough idea is that these plants, or these trees in the back, are going to create a bit of a south-facing border. They'll naturally cast a bit of shade that can then help us with what we plant behind. And then in the front, we've got this gently shaped bank. So if any nutrient rolls down the hill, or any water rolls down the hill, it gets captured by this bank or by the swale, and then it encourages the water to go in. And then what we've done is we've gone around and we've planted all sorts of different things of different herbs, specifically aromatic herbs and herbs that like to help pollinators and beneficial insects, because the idea is that eventually, as this grows out, this will become a thriving bank of herbs that will look beautiful, that will smell beautiful, that still has some, culinary uses, like this here growing as caraway, but it'll also, it'll look stunning, and it'll be fantastic for helping our beneficial insect populations. Now, this here is also acting a bit of an additional car park, but maybe for our perennials. So any perennials that we have from the nursery that might have gone a little bit over, or we just have way too many, it means that we can actually bring those, instead of them being wasted, we can bring them up here to plant in and fill the gaps. And I don't expect everything to make it, because we're not watering these when we put them in. We're creating these like little bowls, so you'll be able to see these little bowl shapes up close for some of the plantings, and we're experimenting. The most recent one, which I'll go to next, we didn't do that. But the idea with the little bowls is if it does rain, it'll capture the water. But we want it to be minimal input, and I also want the most resilient plants to survive. So I'm planting them, and then if they live, they're probably going to be resilient. If they die, they might not be strong enough. So it's kind of selecting the healthiest of plants. And also, with part of that, some things won't really make much sense, because we've got a couple of apricot foxgloves here, but again, they were spare, and it's a nice thing to put in. And also, like here, I've put in some cosmos as well, just to add a little bit more colour, and understand that for this first system, for the first year, it's going to take a bit of time before it really fills in between all of this kind of blank soil. And so the plan is later in summer, we're going to cut lots of grass and we're going to go through and we're going to heavily mulch this. And so the purpose of the mulch is to create fertility, or provide fertility and provide protection to help the plants to continue growing. And then hopefully next year, this will feel like really nicely developed. The top two have been in for a couple of weeks, and then on Friday of last week we had a couple of friends, Martin and Paula, come over, and they had some friends as well, and I thought it would be a really nice project to just plant up this. And we haven't watered it in. There's rain expected later on today and also tomorrow, so some things like this oxeye daisy, some plants can just be really dramatic, like you put them in and they're like, ah! But it's going to be fine. The rain is going to be fine. And we've been a little bit different here. We've got a few things, like this here is white agastache, and I think I'll move some agastache up into those top ones just to create variety. And I think it's going to look lovely. There's a few little nasturtiums as well, just to help fill it in. Just especially this year, the nasturtiums will kind of take over. Hopefully not too much. There isn't much fertility in this soil, so again, it's kind of that slow, strong growth rather than giving it all the fertility. And there's lots of growth up above that looks great, but maybe it's not as strong underneath. And I do want this to be nice and resilient. The biggest challenge of this system, I think, is going to stop the weeds or the grass encroaching from here. And I think the core thing that we're going to do is just make sure that this bottom part is quite heavily mulched with grass. And then we might have to edge it, just edge the bottom and edge the very top once a year and keep it in. But yeah, it was a great planting style, and I'm so excited to see how this turns out as this begins to mature. And I'm sure we will revisit this later in the growing season. But it's just an idea for you. If you have a bank, cover it with herbs and see what happens.